Hello there everybody, Sabana92 aka Nightmare, and welcome back to Rose Guns Days Season 3. I almost called it last season because the title of the program itself says last season. I almost screwed up there a little bit. But anyway, welcome back! So, where do we even get about what happened last episode? We learned that Meiju was the one that tipped off Rose about the attempted assassination plot. Which, good on you, Meiju. I really appreciate you kind of being like the... How do I refer to Meiju? I guess he's his own neutral party, but he's... I don't know, but he's clearly not working with Wong. He's not working willingly with him, at least. So I am happy that he is, in some regard, kind of helping us like, oh, by the way, there's going to be an assassination attempt on you. Also, I'm going to give you every little bit of information you need to know about Hotarubi, except for the fact that her father is being held captive. I don't know if she actually told him that, or if he's actually told them about Zell's situation. So, I don't know, part of me was thinking that he might have given them some hint about it, but if I had to guess, he probably only told them about the fact that she is an assassin. It's kind of what I'm thinking. Well, I do understand that the people of Tokyo are all poor and have it rough. Also, the whole soy sauce thing that was going on there. Yeah! Freaking Golden Dragon Society. God damn, you guys. Ugh.
Satomi-san.
Satomi's voice through the phone was disgusted. Sales were excellent and the soy sauce sold out on the same day. Because people in the soy sauce business heard that report first, the shock had been massive when they learned the truth. The craftsmen are filled with disappointment and anger. They're saying the sellout Japanese of Tokyo could have never appreciated the taste of soy sauce. As I told you before, many of us in the countryside consider Tokyo dwellers to be country sellers who sold their souls to the occupying forces. Part of this plan had been to somehow win them over and soothe them, but with this incident, they've totally lost the desire to sell soy sauce to Tokyo dwellers. We should have waited until the people of Tokyo were more well off. It was premature. They could have made excuses like that. However, as someone who had been watching City 23 from the end of the war until today, Rose understood. Now was the only time. If it had been any sooner, no one would have had enough spare money to buy soy sauce. Improved wages had created that spare money. However, if they took their time, soy sauce culture would really fade out. It would be overwhelmed by the many food products released into the market by the occupying forces. If you asked a man, they might complain about this being impatient or the result of a woman's shallow thinking. However, Rose's feminine instincts had clearly picked up on this. There was no time except now. If this failed, soy sauce culture would be lost forever. Is that your woman's intuition, Rose-chan?
I've picked up on a more certain sense of urgency, not something as vague as that.
Well, I guess it means that your good efforts were just a bit ahead of the times. It's interesting to compare a man's field of vision with a microscope and a woman's with a radar. See, this is kind of why I really wish I should have stuck with just doing this all at once rather than taking breaks every now and then. I would have more consistent voices. Men are best at focusing in on one thing and analyzing in extreme detail, just like a microscope. On the other hand, women have extremely wide ranges of vision, which stretch much farther than the naked eye can see, and which specialize in analyzing many things at once, just like radar. Because of this, when a dangerous shadow suddenly appears in front of a ship's course, women can take notice sooner than men and understand the danger. But when this happens, men will ask women about the shadow's shape, its material, its mass, all information from a microscope's perspective. Of course, radar can't pin down such micro information, so women can't answer these questions for men. When this happens, men laugh at women for being so cowardly, so shallow that they got worked up over information so vague. They didn't even know such basic details. This ability of women to observe events outside men's range of vision is what's commonly called women's intuition. Also, you really shouldn't You should probably listen to women's intuition, otherwise you're gonna get your ass handed to you. Unfortunately, it was probably hard for President Satomi, a man, to share Rose's vague sense of danger. Everyone in the soy sauce industry was also a man. Surely they had laughed at Rose's plan for being impatient from the start, prepared to shut it down if even the slightest problem appeared. By now, it was already impossible to ask the soy sauce industry to start selling to the masses again. Rose's women's intuition told her that. Well, Rose-chan, it's not like you did anything wrong. The timing was just a little bit off.
And after I asked you to make such difficult changes, giving us a chance. I'm sorry.
And if anyone should apologize, it's me. You have nothing to apologize for. The people of Tokyo have made their decision. That's all there is to it.
We decided on our own to choose a fake over the real thing.
Satomi had probably been trying to soothe Rose by telling her it wasn't her fault. However, those words made Rose feel an even deeper pain in her heart. Satomi explained that the soy sauce industry refused to cooperate any longer. They'd only just managed to rebuild themselves by selling through luxury channels. However, since all the soy sauce in City 23 had been gathered in one place, it was now rapidly spreading into the black market through Chinatown. Assholes. That would slash the prices of high-grade soy sauce. The soy sauce industry had been hurt both as a luxury item and a consumer good. They were enraged, saying that their favor of switching to the consumer market had been repaid with betrayal. The union says it'll stop production for a while, wait for the market price to rise again, then return to its previous luxury good model. Even I owe a lot to the union. I ask a lot of them, too. It wouldn't be possible to cooperate any longer. Forgive me, Rose-chan.
No. Thank you very much for your support, President Satomi.
And don't worry so much about it. It didn't work out in the end, but I was able to find a precious friend in Tokyo. Also, though it didn't go well for you, the distribution through Tokyo turned out good for us. The soy sauce industry had been angered, but Satomi had profited considerably from the distribution route to Tokyo that Primavera had offered. I mean, if anything, at least we still have Satomi's support. It's just that they're not going to be able to get soy sauce. His dream of making massive profits from that route had been crushed, but it certainly hadn't ended with Satomi losing out. When the time comes that I can help you another way, I most certainly will. Anyway, don't let it get you down. Feel free to drop by whenever you like.
Okay. Thank you very much. Goodbye.
Rose set down the receiver and gave a long sigh. It was now official. The soy sauce distribution plan had failed.
He got us good. That Wang Yanhong. This is a preemptive strike against us.
A strike? No, that's not it. I think this is just a message.
That if we don't obey, this will only be the beginning.
No, not in that direction. It's more fundamental.
I've always liked this theme that plays, though. Rose stood up and looked outside through the curtains. For a while, she gazed fondly out at the great river of exhaust fumes and asphalt, with cars crossing left and right.
Let me hear your opinion.
Claudia told me. She said there's more and more restaurants buying that Chinatown substitute soy sauce.
We're in the middle of a soy sauce fever, after all. The food industry is seeing an unprecedented boom in foods using soy sauce. Demand is high. Even so, there are those who won't buy real soy sauce because it's too expensive. It isn't surprising that substitute soy sauce is selling so well.
In that case, demand for substitute soy sauce would shoot up, and of course, it would be distributed more widely.
The source of supply of substitute soy sauce is Chinatown. She said that right now, the connections between Japanese shopping centers and Chinatown distributors are expanding rapidly.
In the past, Rosa tried to help the community of her countrymen by prioritizing businesses owned by them when making purchases. Most of her countrymen had supported this, and a firm Japanese colony had formed in City 23, unlike, well, anything you would see in Tokyo's other cities. However, if that had fallen apart, and foreign businessmen like the Chinese are being used more often again, then the big tree formed by the Japanese colony would dry up bit by bit from the roots, eventually drying up all the way to the leaves. We'd go back to the society on the brink of destruction, with shops withering and getting bought by foreigners. That had existed until Rose's ideals had shown everyone a brief glimpse of utopia.
Right at the formation of the Pinavere family, the people listened to our words, but it's only natural that their thoughts would gradually switch from ideals to profit. I've heard that they've avoided dealing with the Chinese distributors so far. They're afraid of Primavere's eyes on them, but
Because of this fake soy sauce fever that's all fallen apart at once?
that's what Claudia says. At this rate, real soy sauce will be driven out. By that fake soy sauce. Hey, Claudia, tell me something. How can we get the people to choose real soy sauce over the fake stuff? How can we get them to understand that failing to do this means ending our soy sauce culture by their own hands? That's simple. There's only one way. We need to oppose it by lowering the price to be the same as the substitute soy sauce and making the amount of supply the same too. If we do that, no one would choose to buy those disgusting fakes. Even a child would be able to tell the difference.
Well, that's the problem, though. It probably takes a large amount of money just to produce legitimate, genuine soy sauce. So, as much as I want to support that idea, Claudia, it's just not realistic. Especially concerning, like, I'm not really good with economics, but even I can tell, usually trying to make something genuine and real takes considerably longer, more resources, and much more money in comparison to creating factory-produced, lesser quality copies. If we could bring that triple-price soy sauce back to its old price.
I know, if we could do that, then we could exterminate the fake soy sauce. Anyone could tell you that the real thing would sell them.
Rose is no fool. She had looked into whether Primavera could provide financial support and lower the price until mass distribution cut the price down. However, the estimate had amounted to a massive sum. It had been a 10-year plan for mass distribution to lower the price. It would be completely impossible to subsidize soy sauce expenses to support the hundreds of thousands of Japanese consumers in the city over that period. Primavera did own the special offers windows, but nearly all of those funds had been returned as wages for laborers. Even so, it was true that they possessed considerable financial power, but it wasn't nearly enough to subsidize a flavoring that general townspeople used every day. There were no accurate records left, but it was estimated that the average Japanese individual consumed more than 10 liters of soy sauce per year before the shortage caused by the war. Holy crap. The Japanese bought and were dependent on soy sauce to a degree that a 21st century Japanese person could hardly imagine, now that foreign food cultures dominate. The Japanese population in City 23 was also hard to measure accurately, but a rough estimate would probably put it about 300,000 people. And if you factor that in, that means you're gonna have to craft at least 300,000 bottles, and considering how often they probably go through it, you're looking at maybe probably be every other day, or at least every 4 to 5 days, depending on how much they tend to use the soy sauce itself. The amount that you're looking at is ridiculous just for a week. In other words, if the people of City 23 regained their Japanese food culture according to Rose's ideals and started consuming soy sauce, then City 23's annual soy sauce consumption would top 3 million liters. Yep. It might even get as high as 4 million liters. The price of 1 liter of soy sauce was 3 times the pre-war level, and Primavera was distributing it for 33 Japanese dollars. In other words, to return it to its former price, they would need to support the cost by 22 Japanese dollars per liter. If we assume, say, 23's annual consumption is 4 million liters, they would need to offer financial support of 88 million Japanese dollars per year. And that is a pretty penny, that's a lot. a number almost as large as the 100 million Caleb had gathered by strangling the whole city, and you'd have to do that a lot more, would need to be paid every year for a decade. Even Rose was forced to conclude that this was unrealistic. However, if that cost was shared among all consumers, it would be a small burden. If a single person consumed 10 liters per year, the individual burden would only be 220 Japanese dollars per year. With the recent wage improvements, that was about half a day's wage. For the burden of only half a day's wage, they could taste real soy sauce for a year. Rose had been sure that she could get to that level of support, but
There's also a lot of poor people. It's impossible to ask all of them to bear the burden. Even we wouldn't be able to do business. Isn't that what your Primavera has been saving up money to do? It's impossible, Claudia. Even Primavera doesn't have such extraordinary funds. But Chinatown's been buying that expensive soy sauce at even higher prices. If the GDS can do it, why can't Primavera?
the Japanese city folk thought of Primavera and the GDS as forces on pretty much the same level. In truth, even Rose had once thought that they were on nearly the same level since they each represented their respective cities. However, there was no comparison between the financial power of the two forces. The amount of soy sauce Rose had released into City 23 during the soy sauce fever was 100,000 liters. It was thought that the GDS had bought up nearly 70% of that. Also, the GDS was buying those $33 liters of soy sauce for $66, twice the selling price. In other words, they had invested the massive sum of an estimated 5 million Japanese dollars to blunt Rose's soy sauce policy. On top of that, they had released the gathered soy sauce into the black market, and since they were probably selling it at near the high countryside prices, the GDS might even be in the black. Plus, some of the city folk were starting to suspect that Primavera had been trying to gouge them by selling soy sauce at triple the old price. From Primavera's perspective, they were taking luxury soy sauce that was out of the common man's reach and drastically lowering the price. But other people didn't compare against that hidden price. One bottle of the old luxury soy sauce cost more than 2,000 Japanese dollars. That was back when the daily wage for Tokyo laborers was about $200. However, they didn't rejoice in the fact that this $2,000 had become $33. They only compared it to the cheap prices they had found during the well-off pre-war days. They used to be able to buy it for $11 worth in modern currency. They had nothing to say except that $33, triple the old price, was outrageous. In other words, simply having soy sauce bottles displayed in storefronts for triple the price increased the number of people screaming about Primavera price gouging. The more Primavera spread soy sauce distribution, the more they lost the support of the city folk, and the more the GDS filled their pockets. To combat that, Primavera would have to resist with money too. However, as previously stated, they would need an outrageous sum of money to do that. There was no comparison between Rose, who wanted to restore soy sauce culture out of goodwill, and Dwang, who was waging war with vast financial resources behind him. Dwang had already been declared the winner in this soy sauce war.
And it's not just soy sauce we're talking about. Here and there, stores have started making deals with Chinatown to get soy sauce. When they do that, they all remember that buying from foreigners is much cheaper than buying from their countrymen, and that they can get many more things in greater quantity. If we leave things as they are, the community of countrymen from your ideals will fall to pieces. The idealistic desire to prioritize deals with our countrymen gave rise to a brief utopia. But ideals are no more than dreams.
So, it's a dream that they wake from when they see Chinatown's overwhelming quantity and lowered prices. The problem was already getting bigger than just soy sauce. The Primavera family's foundation ceremony, where people would cry and applaud the society of mutual support among countrymen that Rose spoke of, seemed far away. That ideal, that dream that all of her countrymen supposedly shared, was starting to fall down and break apart.
Claudia says most stores are already starting to rely on distribution lines through Chinatown.
People have started to say that profit is more important than mutual support among countrymen. What shall we do? The consciousness of the people is starting to stray from this ideal. If we are to guide our countrymen, we must return them to the proper path.
How?
By using the techniques Cyrus and the others specialize in. We are members of the criminal underworld, after all.
That won't do. Ideals can't come true unless they're approved of and voluntary. No matter how noble a goal may be, if the path leading to them is paved with coercion and violence, then we'll just be repeating Caleb-san's mistake.
Hey, I fucking heard that. I know you're talking about me behind that.
Oh, don't worry, honey. We're just fine over here. Just calm down.
You're telling me to calm down? Jesus, what the hell got into you?
Oh, I don't know. Maybe you. Oh,
Oh, for God's sake, don't even get started on that.
we are members of the criminal underworld. While we may engage in bloodbaths with other people in the underworld, we must never shed the blood of those who live in the world of daylight.
So, you're saying there's nothing we can do?
We can only appeal to everyone's Japanese souls.
Do you think the people will listen?
We won't know until we try. I have faith in the Japanese people. If that doesn't work, we'll probably make the same decision again and again, with all our traditions and culture, not just soy sauce.
Is there any way I can help?
It should be easy for you to calculate how things will end up if they continue changing at the current rate. Preparing for the worst case is your specialty. I want you to prepare for that.
Understood.
The Japanese are the people who sold off the 5-story pagoda of the Kafuku Temple, which had over 1,000 years of history for just 250 yen.
Wait, is that real? This was during the Meiji era, so that 250 yen wasn't exactly the same value as modern currency. Even so, it can hardly be called a fitting price for a building with a history over a millennium long. Oh shit, that actually happened, didn't it? Dude! 250 yen. This is a historical tower which later on was named as a national treasure. It became part of the cultural assets of the old capital Nara in 1998, and it was even added to the World Heritage List. And that was the price they sold it for.
I've learned about the tragedy of Haibutsu Kishaku, the expulsion of Buddhism from Japan that was triggered by the Shinbutsu Bunri, the separation of Shinto and Buddhism. Yes, it was indeed a tragedy. What a tragedy, to discover that we Japanese are a people who can use a 1,000-year-old cultural treasure for firewood without any respect. The Japanese are a people so foolish that not only are they unwilling to protect their tradition and culture, but they can't even manage to get a good price for it. A people who couldn't understand the worth of its own culture until Ernest Fennoloso suggested it to Ito Hirobumi, the first prime minister. Do you know who Ernest Fennolosa was?
Can you please tell me?
He was an American, and he was just a paid foreign professor. On top of that, his specialties were philosophy and political economy. In other words, our country's first prime minister was lectured on the value of Japanese culture by an American working outside his field.
Whoa.
How far do you think those Japanese would be able to go to protect mere soy sauce, the culture of the everyday meal? Oh.
Damn. Julie couldn't answer. After all, soy sauce culture had been completely wiped out in 21st century Japan. Because we didn't protect our culture, it was destroyed. Because we liked fakes we could get for cheap for more than our culture, it was destroyed. And this isn't like some animal that went extinct billions of years ago. Just a few decades ago, we stood aside as a culture spanning 1,000 years, destroyed, and let it die. As a matter of historical knowledge, Julie knew this, of course. She knew that soy sauce had a history far more than 1,000 years long.
Even when faced with President Satomi's practical declaration of defeat, Madame Rose didn't give up.
She didn't give up using soy sauce culture to bring unity and prosperity to the community of her countrymen by bringing it within everyone's reach. And she continued to make her case to everyone. Madame Rose stood in the street and appealed to the city folk. Soy sauce was a bit of precious culture that the Japanese had to protect. If they let that be destroyed, then they would end up losing other parts of their culture too. However, no one listened to her words. On the contrary, some people called out insults to her, saying she was trying to gouge people with soy sauce. Real soy sauce, which no one took. And off to the side, the fake soy sauce that sold like crazy. Even though everyone should know that it didn't taste right. However, no one felt like paying 3 times the money for something as intangible as taste. Even though people could buy it for just $22 more, no one did. They might buy it once as a souvenir, but they wouldn't buy it again. On the contrary, the city folk sneered, saying that they'd probably start selling it for cheap once it passed the best of use date. If only one of them had a little of the range of vision or ability to see the future that Rose had. But of course, none of them had that vision. That was why Rose alone could be Madame Rose, the one who guided her countrymen. Her cries didn't reach any of her countrymen. The cries of her heart were not understood. Well, let's just get Leo back and have them let him knock some sense into all these dumbasses! Even though we're already hearing this from we're hearing this from Jean's perspective, so we already know it's doomed to fail.
Here, be my guest.
Sorry to bother you during work. Oh! Ah, Meru-san. Long time no see. Nah. Hey, it's Meiju-san. You surprised me. I didn't realize you were here.
He's here incognito today. Please keep it a secret from everyone.
If I went to a Japanese club to play, many of my countrymen would be envious. How bothersome. You liar. Don't you mean a lot of girls would be jealous? Putting that aside, sorry, Rose. You see... Meryl whispered into Rose's ear. Rose nodded immediately without a trace of suspicion in her face.
Yeah, it's okay. I called them here.
Oh. When Rose nodded, Oliver and the others waiting in this hall were given permission to enter the room. They had been... No. Oliver in particular had been unsatisfied ever since that day. In the first place, none of them had even seen Zell try to poison Rose. Zell had been pouring water when Madame Rose approached her, and after they exchanged some words, Zell suddenly turned white and dashed away. After that, they had only heard a one-sided report from Wayne, who said she was a killer hired by the enemy. I don't believe it. I'm not like you heartless people.
I'm too dumb to really understand. I don't want to think about how that smile of hers was there to deceive us. She really lost her memory at first. At least that much is true. If only her memory hadn't come back. It was bad luck.
If that's true, then while her memory was gone, we were talking to the real Zell. What did you think after being with that real Zell? Did she look like someone who'd kill to eat? No, she didn't. Zell isn't that kind of person. What do you mean a hired killer from Chinatown? I don't believe it. She was obviously overwhelmed by some unavoidable circumstance and doing it unwillingly.
You're a kind person, Oliver-kun. You've believed in Zell all this time.
I don't suspect my comrades. I'm sorry, but if it's a choice between Madame Rose and one of my comrades, I'll stick by Zell. Anybody else noticing the pure devotion that Oliver is showing right now is very parallel to Wayne's devotion to Rose here? I'm sorry, I'm believing in this right now.
So, yeah, they say they want to hear what you have to say no matter what. Wayne's still in shock, you know. If they tried to ask him, he wouldn't be too happy.
Unable to ask Wayne while he was in a bad mood, they had discussed the matter with Meryl through Nina. They said they wanted to hear what happened that day from Madame Rose.
It's sad, but it's true that she was an assassin. However, Meiju-san will tell you why she had to become an assassin.
Oh my god! Ni hao, children. I am Li Meiju. A pleasure to meet you.
But, Lee Meiju? At least call him San, dumbass.
What's a leading member of the GDS doing here? Oh, he's his own party, buddy. Just letting you know that. The three of them were shocked to learn that the Chinese man sitting across from Rose was Li Meiju. Apparently, though they knew the name of Small Rock Chinatown's boss, this was the first time they'd seen his face. However, they knew the many fearsome stories of his kills, and they seemed to have tensed up. You are Hotarubi's friends. I don't know any Hotarubi. We're the real Zell's comrades. For a period of time, Zell really did lose her memory. During that time, we were true comrades. She really did lose her memory. I see. That would explain things. Zell had been given the privilege of spending a day with her father, one day a month. Zell had abandoned that privilege just once, during the first month after infiltrating Primavera. That's right, they brought that up, so the memory loss was real. She couldn't even remember the agreement that was put up. It had been puzzling, since her father was her only support, but now it finally made sense. The plot of her losing her memory and going to Primavera's care had become true without any deception. The poor child. Then it would have been better had her memory never returned at all.
Zell really is a girl with a sad history. Even I'm just hearing about it now from Meiju-san. She didn't become an assassin by choice. It was just forced on her against her will. Meiju-san, could you repeat what you just said to these kids too?
What did he tell them, though? How much do you know about her? Nothing.
We saw she had a creepy tattoo on her neck. Zell would have never chosen to get that.
We really don't know anything more. She was born on the Chinese mainland while it was occupied by the Japanese. She was raised in a large city in the countryside where Chinese and Japanese people lived together. So the natural way she spoke Chinese really wasn't something she'd learned later. A land where the Chinese language was an everyday thing. That was the place she was born. That explains that. Zell, or is it Sayo or Saijo? Saijo Hotaru was born in a provincial city in China under Japanese control and raised in a wealthy household. Her father, who was a well-known figure locally, promulgated the ideals of the greater East Asian prosperity sphere and supposedly wanted her to be a bridge between Japan and China. For that reason, he gave her an education that would allow her to adapt to Chinese culture, including having Chinese teachers and mingling with Chinese households. However, when that great disaster hit the entire Japanese island chain, the war suddenly ended. On that day, the utopia of the greater East Asian prosperity sphere, where Chinese and Japanese lived together in harmony, was destroyed. Of course, the only ones who believed it was a utopia were the Japanese. From the Chinese point of view, they were the ones being ruled, so they were just biding their time until the uprising came. Oh. Whoa! Whoa, okay. In some cities, the Chinese city folk all revolted at once and began to attack Japanese nationals. The long war and rule had been a continuous attack on their self-respect. All these feelings had built up and exploded in a burst of righteous anger. Fuck! Astonishingly, some of the Japanese were shocked by this anger. We put infrastructure in place while we ruled them, so they should be thanking us. Some of them truly believed that. Yeah, The Chinese government, which was still in an unstable position, was unable to stop these riots, to say nothing of the Japanese government. For Japanese people living in the interior like Zell, escaping quickly became an urgent matter. However, right before they did, Zell's family was suddenly arrested by a group of Chinese MPs. Her father, who was the head of the police station, was under suspicion. Suspicion? He was suspected of committing atrocities against Chinese citizens. His name was on a list of war criminals constructed by the local government. They claimed he was arrested before he could escape. Oh. Chief of Police Saijo Yukishi was suspected of repeatedly arresting Chinese people for crimes they hadn't committed, then killing them en masse in a gas chamber inside the state. Jesus fucking Christ! Pardon my fucking French, but I'm gonna fucking curse all... Jesus! How about no? Maybe no, please? Let's not go there? From what Zell had heard from her father, that was apparently an accident. They had been hit with a massive cold wave that winter season. The detention area in this police station was heated to a degree by a stove. However, two misfortunes occurred at the same time. First, the stove had... Oh! It was literally an accident, but they accused him of committing such a heinous thing. Is that what's going toward here? First, the stove had broken. Negligence on the parts of those in charge of it was probably partly to blame. The stove broke late at night, and until dawn it had pumped carbon monoxide into all the cells of the ducts. Oh no! The second bit of misfortune was that several people held there were young ringleaders of a massive riot that had broken out the previous day. Of course, even if the Japanese announced that they had died due to an unfortunate accident, none of the Chinese would believe them. While the young heroes of the anti-Japanese resistance were being held there, it was possible that another riot could break out demanding their release. Chinese believed that, fearful of such an outcome, the Japanese had quickly gassed those heroes to death and made it look like an accident. At the time, the government wanted those anti-Japanese heroes as a way to boost public support. And if possible, it would be more convenient if those heroes were already dead. After all, if they were alive, they would threaten the positions of those in government. Meiju laughed. Following the orders of the central government, all the regional governments made lists of heroes. In regions under contention, it should have been easy to fill those lists up. However, in the city Zell lived in, which was far from the battlefront, it hadn't been easy to find people to recommend. And this incident is what they set their eyes on. The young dead were quickly lauded as anti-Japanese heroes. Saijo Yukishi was named as the villain who killed them with poison gas. But it was an accident, wasn't it?
Charles-kun, there's no truth when it comes to events related to war. To the Japanese, it's a stove accident. To the Chinese, it's a brutal war crime where people were killed with gas. Both of those are the truth to their respective sides. No matter how much each side makes its own claim, it won't be possible to reach a truth that both can accept.
And that is also an unfortunate truth. A people's court decided that police chief Saijo's guilt had been completely proven and sentenced him to death. The court acknowledged the existence of the gas rooms and concluded that Saijo had decided by his own judgment to unjustly execute those citizens. This gas room is currently on display in an anti-Japanese museum. However, some young Japanese on the internet claim that this museum was a fabricated gas chamber made after the war for anti-Japanese propaganda. They used blueprints of the police station at the time as evidence that the existence of the gas chamber had been forged, but the museum denied it. The remodeling had been done for the convenience of visitors, and the existence of the gas chamber wasn't in doubt, as proved by countless testimonies. Even now in the 21st century, this crime has not been allowed to rest in peace. That Mr. Saijo was given the death sentence is a fact. Beyond that, there is no truth. Was Mr. Saijo an atrocious man like the trial accused him of being? Or was it really just an accident? Were the anti-Japanese heroes really arrested for being part of an anti-Japanese movement? Or because they broke into stores to rob them during the turmoil of the riot? No one knows. There is just one thing we can say. Pitch soils. Evil rumors are hard to erase. That is the sort of situation in which her family was abandoned. However, Mr. Saijo wasn't executed. Immediately before it happened, he and Zell, the only surviving member of his family, disappeared from jail. There are many theories as to how he broke out of his jail. However, one persuasive theory is that a local government big shot he knew well broke him out, in exchange for the wealth Mr. Saijo secretly held. So Zell and her father just barely managed to escape. However, the two of them didn't return to Japan safely. The two Saijos were now in the debt of the local underworld. They offered their secret wealth in exchange for a ticket to Japan. However, that apparently didn't go as well as they planned. With the wallet, you can just open it up and show what's inside. However, it's impossible to get an idea of how much secret wealth someone owns. The people who had taken in the two Saijos estimated that Mr. Saijo was hiding more assets than he offered. Eventually, the trust between them broke down. The two Saijos were confined to something like an underground hideout. If it came out that they were hiding a war criminal, it would be troublesome. Of course, no one would let an escaped war criminal run wild. For the sake of pride and saving face, the central government began a rigorous search and pursuit. If it came out that they were hiding this criminal, they could be branded as pro-Japanese and accused of the same crime. As time went on, hiding the Saijos began to become a burden. By that time, Mr. Saijo was little more than baggage to them. During that time, they began to forget the possibly non-existent hidden assets, in favor of the asset they had right before them. If Hotaru-san hadn't been so beautiful, they would have never left China alive. What does that mean? It probably means exactly what you think it means.
Figure it out already. Use that damn tattoo and figure it out.
In exchange for her father's safety, she obeyed everything, no matter how harsh. As a beautiful, obedient pet, she probably offered bosses a feeling of supremacy they couldn't buy with money. Then, when she began to prove valuable as a gift, she was passed between several despicable men. However, eventually some people started to take advantage of this fact by using her as an assassin. In exchange for her father's safety, the last thing supporting her heart, she continued to fall deeper into darkness. In other words, Zell was...
She was forced into becoming a killer, in exchange for her father's safety.
It is a sad tale, a tragedy of the war.
Why? Didn't she tell us? If she did tell us then, would we have believed her? We couldn't have. Even if she told us, we wouldn't have believed her.
Zell. In that case, where's Zell's father now? Somewhere in the City 22 GDS hideout. She probably intends to save him by herself, but that would be reckless beyond all reason. At this rate, she will die like a dog. As soon as Meiju said that, Oliver turned around as though hit with an electric shock. Charles and Nina followed him without a moment's hesitation. They probably intended to search for Zell and stop her. Stop her? And then what? Who knows? That's something for the young to consider. They dashed outside in the heat of the moment, but they had no idea where Zell was. However, they wanted to see her as soon as possible. To see her and talk with her. No. Apologize to her. She's probably wandering around Chinatown looking for her father.
Wait. The Chinatown in City 23 or the one in City 22? If we get all fired up and just run all over the place, we'll never find her. But if we stay here, we'll never find her, right? We're scum! We didn't trust our comrade! We didn't even try to trust Zell!
I feel the same. I don't want to see the sun rise tomorrow before I've apologized to Zell. I don't care if my heart explodes. I'll run around looking for Zell, even if it kills me.
Holy shit, I'm not used to her. Oh, fuck. Sheesh. Whew. You have any idea how heavy these things on my chest are? Good God. Wait up, you guys. Is Stella-san? Ooh. To be young. You're so excited you can't hear the people around you. Meiju-san told me to give this to you.
Stella was holding out what appeared to be a folded memo. Oliver took it and spread it out.
Chinese?
We can't read this.
I can. I'll read it for you. Now there's a high-class girl for you. You're awesome. Well, she is Stella. It's an address. I guess he wants you to go here.
It was a location within City 23's Chinatown.
Guide them to that place. Lee Meiju. That's what it says.
That place?
Let's go! We might find a clue about Zell. Stella-san, thank you so much. I don't know what's going on, but if Meiju-san's looking after you, that should be reassuring.
I mean, yeah. I mean, Meiju is a bit of a conniving, he's a serpent. I think that's the proper word that I can do. But whenever he's helpful, he's helpful. The three thanked her and ran off. And again, I already know, like, he's doing this to kind of throw Wong under the bus because they're part of the two factions. He serves the young lord, and Wong serves the elderly bastards that need to be put into their graves already. So he's immediately picking himself off to the side that he feels like he knows is going to win, which is why he's giving them all this information about Zell. The three thanked her and ran off. As long as they could meet Zell, nothing else mattered. At the moment, they couldn't think of anything else. Alright, I think that's probably... I unfortunately didn't have that much time to actually get some... Fuck it, I'm gonna try to go a little bit further right now. It's probably not... I need to go a little bit further. I need to go just a little bit further. If you guys can't tell, today was an incredibly busy day. At the time I'm recording this. Just basically shitty timing.
Someone around here? Don't really like the looks of this place.
Shh. Don't speak in Japanese.
Yeah.
The place indicated by Meiju's memo was deep, deep inside Chinatown. It was far from the main streets where many Japanese people walked. Even though it was Japan, it was fully a little China, a foreign country. Though Chinatown was famous for being filled with people and things in bustle, this place was completely silent. The bustle of the main streets sounded far away, and that strange feeling made it clear that this wasn't a place to walk around casually. This was a town where poor Chinese people gathered, people who had immigrated to Japan believing that something would change for them, though nothing did. Because the three had grown up in the alleyways, a feeling of tension enveloped them. They know what that unpleasant feeling meant.
It's like whatever happens to you here, it's your own fault, huh?
Shh. They're here.
Let's be friendly. We're standing right inside their stomachs after all.
We are the Three Stooges! Three young, mean-looking Chinese men were blocking the path in front of them, grinning. Unsurprisingly, they didn't look like they were planning to let their prey escape. By now, two more of them were standing behind Oliver and the others, blocking their retreat. They knew that these two had been following behind them for a while. Okay, so this is a perfect spot for an attack. Interesting. Looks like you don't need words to tell someone to give up their money if they don't want to get hurt.
We aren't here to fight. We've got Lee Meiju's letter.
Like, don't fucking care. Fuck you!
God, I cannot speak Chinese.
In English. I'm glad they put that little title there.
What are you standing around for? Show him the letter already. I don't have it! Oliver told me to give it to him.
I don't have it. You're the one who has it. You just put it in your inside pocket, didn't you?
I did, but then you pulled it out. You said I'd drop it for sure. Ah, damn it, come on, no getting around it.
Oh, it's battle time, baby! Ew, I fucking dare you to try to... I dare you to match my skills, you cheeky little bitch. It's been quite some time, but I'm ready to freaking kick ass like I did last time. You think your strikes are fast enough to handle me? How foolish and conceited of you.
Okay, that's enough. Let's back off. What?
If the place had been more open, they might have been about to run away somehow. However, that wouldn't work in this narrow alley. Having heard the fight, several grim-faced men appeared and surrounded them. This wasn't a fight between kids anymore. They were clearly being surrounded by people in that line of business. An older man who seemed to be their boss stepped forward.
Get the letter out, quick! The heck are you two doing? It's Oliver, not me! He had it last!
You grabbed it from me! You have the letter!
You always put the blame on me, don't you? You did that with the Nikomon too, right?
Ow! Ow! You blockhead! Yayoi, I can't fucking understand what you're saying, bah!
Oh, wait, I had the letter. Here it is. That's right, Nina grabbed it last!
Anyway, show it to them quickly! Nina spread out Meiju's memo and held it out to them. They took it suspiciously and glanced through it. Was this a trap? They looked between the memo and the three faces. They didn't seem satisfied, but it appeared that they couldn't complain when Meiju's name was brought into the equation. Bah. Bang ni. As the older man said this, he spun around, signaling with his hand that they should follow him. As he did, the men gathered in the road opened a path. Guess he wants us to follow him.
Oh, thanks to Nina, we almost got the crap beaten out of us. You owe me a Nikomon later. Yeah, sure. Assuming we get out of here alive.
It wasn't as though they were being trusted and the circle around them had broken. If anything, it was as though the men had been told to treat this prey with care since it was Meiju-san's. But that they must not let it escape. Of course. I wonder why Meiju led them to this place. They were forced to walk round and round through a maze-like set of alleys. Eventually, they were led into a strange place that it may have been an alley with a roof, or they may have been led into the corridor of a building at some point. The dimness and lonely light bulbs made it unclear whether this was above or below the ground. Is this the place that they're holding the father, I think?
Whoa, is that a Chinese knife? Well, it's huge. I seriously doubt this is a kitchen. Rather not think about why they'd have so many creepy blades hanging in a place like this.
You scared? If you let them overwhelm you, it's all over.
I've heard Chinese torture's pretty awful. How they rip your skin off while you're still alive and soak you in salt and soy sauce, right?
I figured it was gonna be salt and lemon juice, but ugh. That sounds pretty bad too.
If we weren't talking about humans, that'd almost get my stomach rumbling.
Shh. Look, it's the GDS. The person who had guided them was talking with someone who was clearly a member of the Golden Dragon Society. He then pointed this way, making a gesture as though handing the three over. I wish I was multilingual so I could actually read some of the Chinese stuff. Damn it. The man from the GDS said something, but not as though he was talking down to children. This treatment was much better than what they'd received so far. Apparently they'd received contact from Meiju about having guests. The man crouched down and opened a trap door. They could see a ladder inside it. The man motioned for them to go down. This was clearly suspicious. It was like he was telling them to go into a dungeon. When they hesitated, the man urged them to go down quickly.
What do we do?
If we freak out, we lose. Let's go. Please, step down to this ladder. To this trapdoor, I promise. I'm not trying to trap you, I swear.
Don't got a clue what they're saying. If only we could understand their words. I'm definitely studying Chinese, assuming we come back alive. Yeah.
After readying himself, Oliver went down the ladder. Charles and Nina followed. At the bottom, there was a cramped underground storehouse packed with pots and wood boxes and the like. It was apparently a semi-basement, since a small latticed hole let in sunlight and air from outside. However, that didn't change the fact that it was almost pitch black inside. Before their eyes adjusted, the three of them hesitated, unsure of what to do. When they looked up, the Chinese man said something and started to close the trap door.
Damn it, they were tricking us after all! They're planning to lock us in here!
No. He said to wait here until the boss comes. They heard a voice from the depths of the darkness. The three were shocked for a moment, but they quickly realized that it was Zell. The shadow slowly rose to its feet amidst the darkness. What? Zell? Did Meiju come into Xiaolan, the girl that's with Meiju. She's been keeping an eye on Zell this entire time, so... Oh! When the faint angled rays of sunlight hit Zell's face, the three of them dashed towards her. Zell!
Did they catch you too? Anyway, this might not be the best place, but I'm so glad you're safe. Everyone, why are you here? We wanted to apologize to you, Zell.
Lee Meiju told us about this place.
Zell, I'm sorry. I didn't trust you at all. I never knew you had such a tragic past. My past.
Lee Meiju told us about it. About you and your father.
He told us your father was held hostage, and that they made you do terrible things. We were horrible, and even after we called you our comrade all the time.
We couldn't trust you during the time we needed the most. We're awful.
That's not true. If anyone's awful, it's me for deceiving you all. You weren't deceiving us. You just didn't remember anything. We know how tough it was for you once your memory came back.
The life of one of your parents was on the line. Even I would surely have chosen my parent too in that position.
We don't have parents, but that's why we know how important parents are. You didn't do anything wrong. Nothing at all.
I was the one on the wrong. We were. Anyway, we could have never forgiven ourselves without apologizing to you for that first.
Everyone.
She had thought everyone would hate her. When instead they suddenly showered her with apologies, she was completely taken aback and her mind went blank. The three of them started apologizing as though fighting to be the most apologetic, pressing their faces to the ground.
You don't need to do that. Anyway, the floor is covered with dust.
As their eyes adjusted to the darkness, they looked at each other's faces. Their foreheads, cheeks, and the tips of their noses were covered with dust, making them sort of look like clowns.
You look ridiculous. Ridiculous.
By this point, Zell's face was also stained black with tear marks.
We couldn't ask you to forgive us after all this time.
Call us your comrades again. We'll never doubt you again.
I won't eat Nikomon until you forgive us. Coming from you, that means you're going to stop. Oh, I see what you did there. I guess Charles.
Why do I even do commentary? She pretty much said the same thing.
I guess Charles will die from hunger if I don't forgive you.
Zell started laughing, tears streaming down her face. Hug, please. Yay! Then all at once, the four hugged each other, bringing their heads together. They just laughed and cried and rubbed their faces together. When they'd finished, they looked at each other's sooty faces and broke out laughing again. I'm glad I went a little bit further. I needed that. I'm sorry, I really needed that right there. They're finally reunited, and I'm guessing it's because of Meiju that he was able to find Zell, and it's also because of Xiaolan. So next time we come across her, she needs to be a nice little. She needs to be given a hug, unless she tries to stab us, in which case I don't want to die. So let's avoid that. Oh my god. I'm really happy we got Zell back, but I'm wondering what Meiju's plan is. If I had to guess, I must assume that those members of the Golden Dragon Society are part of Meiju's faction. At least that's what I'm thinking right now. I mean, it can't be. I mean, it can't be just Meiju who serves the Young Lord. He has a faction, for crying out loud, and I'm imagining that those Chinese people, they must be part of that faction. I think, if I had to take a guess. Oh, god damn it. I am actually, but wait a minute. How much does Wong know? That's what I'm kind of worried about. Like, what if Wong finds out? He's still under the assumption that Rose has been poisoned, so I don't know. But anyway, I'm going to end it there. So if you all like this, be sure to let me know. Thank you all very much for watching, and after a happy moment like that, I'm just happy that we're finally got the gang back together. And I will see you guys in the next video.